You know that feeling, right? You've done everything you're supposed to in your garden. The soil is perfect, you've got the sun, the water, but you're watching your plants just struggle. It's so frustrating. And this isn't just a backyard problem. This invisible enemy is responsible for billions of dollars in crop losses all over the world. So today, we're going to get to the bottom of it.
See, the problem isn't something obvious like a caterpillar munching on the leaves. The real culprit is more like a hidden assassin, working silently, completely underground. Okay, let's dive in and unmask this thing. Our investigation starts where it always does for a gardener or a farmer, with those first confusing signs that something is definitely wrong on the surface. So the first clues usually show up in these weird patches. You'll see parts of your field where the plants are just smaller, the leaves are turning yellow, and they look so droopy and wilted, especially in the afternoon heat. You might think, oh, they need more water or fertilizer, but nothing you do seems to fix it. This is the classic signature of our underground enemy. But here's the thing. What you see above ground, those are just symptoms. To find the real cause, we have to get our hands dirty and, well, literally dig deeper. That stunted growth, those yellow leaves, it's basically a cry for help coming from the plant's foundation. The whole crime scene is playing out underground, totally hidden from sight. And there it is. This is the smoking gun. If you carefully pull up one of those struggling plants and wash the dirt off its roots, this is what you might find. These lumpy, gnarled, kind of tumor-like growths are called galls. And when you see these, you know for sure your plant is under attack. It's a dead giveaway. So what in the world is causing these bizarre growths? It's time to put a name to the face, or, well, the microscopic pest responsible for all this chaos. Everybody meet the root knot nematode. Now, these aren't bugs or a fungus. They're microscopic roundworms, and they are, no joke, one of the most destructive plant parasites on the entire planet. They have a huge appetite, too, attacking over 3,000 different kinds of plants. So how does this tiny thing do so much damage? Well, it all starts when a little juvenile worm hatches and burrows into a root tip. Once it's inside, it basically hijacks the plant's own cells, forcing them to become a personal all-you-can-eat buffet. The nematode just sits there, getting fat and happy. Then, a single adult female can lay hundreds, even thousands of eggs, and the whole cycle can repeat in just 4 to 8 weeks. You can see how an infestation can just explode out of nowhere. Okay, so we've identified the enemy, we know its battle plan. Now, how do we defend our garden? You know, the best fight is the one you don't even have to have. It really all comes down to prevention. Before you even think about planting, you've got to do some recon. You can take soil samples in a zigzag pattern across your field, send them to a lab, and find out exactly how many of these nematodes are lurking in there. Knowing the enemy's numbers is half the battle. And here is exactly why that matters so much. Check out the data for tomatoes. If you have just 150 of these little guys per kilogram of soil, you're already looking at a potential 9% loss in your harvest. If that number gets up to 800, you could lose 40% of your crop. Suddenly, that little soil test becomes a really critical economic decision-making tool, right? So, what can you actually do? Well, your best defense is a great offense. Planting resistant varieties is a huge one. For tomatoes, look for that N in the VFN code. That means nematode resistance. Crop rotation is another super powerful tool. If you plant something the nematodes can't eat, like sorghum, you basically starve them out. For smaller gardens, soil solarization is a really cool technique where you use a clear plastic tarp and the sun's heat to literally cook the pests right out of the soil. All of these methods are about fighting the enemy before the battle even starts. But what if it's too late for prevention? What if you're already dealing with a big problem? Don't worry, there are some seriously powerful tools you can use to fight back. One of the most amazing and effective techniques out there is something called grafting. Basically, you take the top part of the plant you love, say a super delicious heirloom tomato that's prone to attack, and you fuse it onto the tough, nematode-resistant roots of a different variety. You literally get the best of both worlds, great fruit up top and an invincible defense down below. And how effective is it? Well, a study in Nepal looked at tomatoes grown in really infested soil. They found a mind-blowing 37% average increase in fruit yield from the grafted plants compared to the normal ones. 37%. That is a massive, massive difference. And this graph from that study tells an even cooler story. See, for the first few months, both types of plants were producing about the same. But then look what happens after December. The non-grafted plants just start to tank as the nematodes take over.
But the grafted plants, they just keep on going, extending the harvest and giving a way bigger total yield in the end. So here's the bottom line. The grafted plants had these beautiful, healthy, gall-free roots. This meant they lived longer, they could soak up more water and nutrients, and they kept producing a lot more fruit over the long haul. The non-grafted plants, with their gnarled up roots, just couldn't hang.
I mean, the researchers themselves said it best. They concluded that grafting isn't just a neat trick, it's one of the most powerful and forward-thinking tools we have for managing this pest, especially for folks trying to use fewer chemicals or grow organically.
Whew, okay. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the crime scene to the culprit and all the way to our defense strategies. So let's just boil this all down into a simple, straightforward game plan.
Here's your plan. Number 1, investigate. If your plants are looking sad, be a detective. Pull one up and check the roots for those galls. Number 2, prevent. Use those soil tests, crop rotation, and resistant varieties before you ever have a problem. Number 3, innovate. For those really important crops in bad soil, grafting is a total game changer. And finally, number 4, integrate. Don't just rely on one thing. Combine a few of these strategies and you'll have the strongest defense possible.
You know, the root knot nematodes teaches us a really important lesson. Sometimes the biggest challenges to growth are the ones you can't even see. So the real question to leave you with is this: what other invisible forces are at play in your soil, and what can you start doing to bring them to light?